Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because, look, we're tackling something that has literally taken the aerospace world by storm. It's 2026, and honestly, you can't open a financial journal, an engineering blog, or a tech site with everyone buzzing about the profound promise of zero-emission aerospace tech. We're looking at a technology that could completely rewrite how humanity travels across the globe. But as always, we need to separate the science fiction from the cold hard facts. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Is the green hydrogen aviation dream finally becoming reality, or is it still mostly hype? For years, industry giants like Airbus, alongside incredibly innovative tech firms like Plug Power, have promised us this utopian future. They painted a picture of a world completely free of traditional, polluting jet fuel. And I mean, the stakes could not possibly be higher.
To really grasp why the industry is so obsessed with this, we've got to look at the core tech, hydrogen fuel cells. By definition, this is power generation where the main byproduct is simple water vapor. Just think about that for a second. Think about the intense pressure airlines are under right now, from regulators, governments, everyday consumers to drastically shrink their carbon footprint. They are desperate for a solution. And then along comes a power source that, instead of pumping out heavy carbon emissions, just leaves a tiny, harmless trail of water vapor in the sky. It's literally the ultimate utopian promise for a heavily scrutinized industry.
And that leads us to the broader promise of hydrogen, driving what I like to call limitless skies FOMO among investors. We are talking about drastically, fundamentally reducing aviation emissions. We're talking about severing that age-old, politically fraught dependence on fossil fuels, and we're talking about securing a much cleaner, sustainable future for regional flying. The energy around these promises is absolutely soaring right now, and for good reason. The potential upside is, quite literally, world-changing.
Section 1. The cold, hard reality. Breaking down the roadblocks. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we have to abruptly pivot from those soaring promises to the brutal, rigid reality.
Because as much as we love the idea of clean skies and water vapor, physics and economics do not care about our utopian dreams. Billions of dollars, that's the number you need to burn into your brain today. We aren't just talking about tinkering with a cool new engine in a lab here. We're talking about the staggering, sheer scale of investment capital required just to build the basic supply chain for hydrogen aviation from the ground up. It is a monumental financial mountain to climb before a single commercial passenger even buys a ticket. The barrier to entry isn't just high, it's practically in orbit.
So why the massive price tag? Well, the industry is staring down 4 engineering nightmares: the storage problem, airport infrastructure, aircraft design, and of course, cost. And every single one of these physical, real-world hurdles anchors directly back to that immense capital expenditure we just mentioned. Let's break these down one by one so you can really feel the true weight of these roadblocks.
First up, the storage problem. Liquid hydrogen is, quite frankly, notoriously needy. It takes up a massive amount of space compared to traditional jet fuel, which means you need far bigger tanks just to fly the exact same distance. But it gets worse. It demands extremely bitterly cold storage temperatures to even stay in a liquid state. Traditional fuel tanks? They're completely useless here. Managing those extreme temps requires highly specialized equipment, heavy insulation, and constant energy. All of that aggressively eats into the aircraft's payload and, more importantly, the airline's profits.
Then we hit the ground, the airport infrastructure. You can't exactly just pump liquid hydrogen out of a standard jet fuel truck on the tarmac. Airports globally would need entirely new fueling systems. We're talking immense cryogenic storage tanks, completely new, highly specialized transport equipment, and entirely rewritten safety procedures for the ground crews. It's a profound financial and logistical nightmare. Imagine trying to figure out how to rip up and replace the legacy fueling systems at thousands of busy commercial airports worldwide, all without stopping their current operations.
And hey, let's say you actually fix the airports. What about the planes themselves? Traditional aircraft were simply not built for hydrogen. You can't just swap out the fuel tank on a 737 and call it a day. Retrofitting old planes is wildly expensive and incredibly complex because that hydrogen storage is just so bulky. Designing completely new aircraft from scratch around these giant cryogenic tanks, that pushes that billion-dollar price tag even higher. It means totally reimagining the aerodynamics, the weight distribution, and the core safety of the plane from the ground up.
Section 2. The 2026 reality check. What is actually flying today?
Let's strip away the futuristic renders for a second. The good news is, real progress is actually happening right now in 2026. Test flights are actively occurring as we speak, prototypes are up in the air, and we're seeing some truly fascinating regional demonstrations underway. But, and this is a crucial caveat you have to understand, commercial, large-scale adoption remains severely limited. We are still firmly locked in the testing, proving, and experimenting phase. We are definitely not in the booking a flight for your summer vacation phase yet.
So the crucial point is this stark contrast in timelines. Short regional flights are what's possible first. Long-haul passenger flights, say, across the Atlantic, those are much, much farther away. The reality is we're going to be taking short, zero-emission hops between neighboring cities long before we're ever flying on hydrogen from New York to London.
Section 3. Following the money. Investor risks and opportunities.
Now we transition into the high-stakes financial game. We're dealing with a stark market ledger here. There's some incredibly exciting opportunities for smart capital to flow into green hydrogen production, fuel cell manufacturing, aerospace innovation firms, and clean energy infrastructure. If they crack the code, the upside is astronomical. But you absolutely have to weigh that against the crippling risks. We're talking slow adoption from airlines, sky-high costs, agonizing regulatory delays from aviation authorities, and the very real danger of the tech just not scaling fast enough to survive. It's a terrifying yet thrilling high-wire act for investors right now.
Section 4. The final verdict. Progress or experiment.
Looking objectively at the data, the engineering hurdles, and the billions in capital flows, we have to ask, is this real progress, or is it just an incredibly well-funded experiment? Well, we can confidently declare that yes, it is real progress. The science is totally sound and the prototypes really do fly, but we've got to be fiercely honest with ourselves here. We are incredibly early in this cycle. Whether this blossoms into a standard global industry depends entirely on mastering 4 pillars: relentlessly advancing the technology, aggressively slashing costs, building out unprecedented airport infrastructure, and time. It's going to take a tremendous amount of time to align all these moving parts perfectly.
Which brings us to one of the most accurate summaries of the industry I've seen. 2026 looks less like the finish line and more like the beginning of a very long runway. That perfectly encapsulates the reality of hydrogen aviation today. The journey has definitively started. The engines are running, but we have a very long, very expensive way to go before we reach widespread commercial liftoff.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought. Are you ready to invest for the long haul? Because whether you're investing your actual portfolio capital, your career path, or just your mental attention as a tech enthusiast, you really have to ask yourself if you have the patience to wait out this significant long-term play. The clean skies of the future are undoubtedly being written today, but it's going to take quite a while to read the final chapter. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it brought you some profound clarity, and I will see you on the next one.